What's up, guys? I just wanted to take some time today to do a quick polishing tutorial type video on two of the main polishes that I use to polish by hand, Cape Cod and Mother's Mag Polish. Generally, when I'm polishing, I'm either polishing something like copper, where I just want to remove the patina, or I just don't like the finish. This one is I think it's a stone wash. It might be like a hybrid blasted stone wash or something on the body. But I'm kind of, with the addition of the white balls, the ZR02 balls, the patina copper doesn't really look nice. So I'm going to try to give it a polish, and it conveniently comes in two halves. So we're going to do a comparison of the Cape Cod versus the Mothers, and there should be virtually no difference between the two, but that's what we're going to do for that one. And then I also have a pair of buttons here that come from the Spinette Pro, which I got from Idle Spin the other day, and one of the questions on Reddit was how people go about polishing buttons like this that have some sort of laser engraved logo in them. So we're going to do that, and these are SS. I think both of these will handle both of them. I know for sure Mother's will. I haven't tried Cape Cod with SS, so we'll see. We'll see how that goes, and that comes in two halves as well. So we're going to start with the Oyster here, which is the smaller version. Here, get it, bring it here. I dropped my button and my dog got it for me. This is the Oyster. This is the smaller version of the clamshell from Illuma FX, and I'm just gonna undo the screws for the body. Put those to the side. So yeah, the first step is just, disassembling. You don't want to try to polish with the spinner assembled, because then you get gunk in the bearing and you get gunk on the balls, and you don't want to do that. You just want it to be as clean as possible. So you're just going to set all of that aside. Yeah, it's good enough. Okay, so now you have your two sides, and you can see, that was off camera. So now you have your two sides. So I think this is a stonewashed blasted finish. It does look like that to me. It doesn't really feel blasted. It feels kind of smoother. So I'm thinking he blasted it and then he stonewashed it. So we're gonna start with Mother's, and that tends to be the more messier of the two. I do a lot of polishing, so this is my polishing rag for the last few months or so. It's got a lot of different spots. So what you do is, of course, you open the polishing canister, and it's going to be like a pasty consistency. So you just grab your microfiber. This is just a plain old microfiber. I think I got this off of Amazon, I think. So you're just going to dab it a little bit. So you just have a little bit on there. What I do is I just rub it together a little bit to kind of spread it, and you're not going to be able to see it, but just as long as you keep track of where that was, you're going to go ahead and start with that. So we'll start with one of the halves, and then on the other one we'll do the Cape Cod. So for this one, you're just gonna rub, and usually I give it a little bit of pressure, and you're going to be able to see the results pretty quickly. It'll get rid of patina pretty quickly. If you want it to be a little bit more polished, then you're gonna have to spend a little more time on it. But yeah, so you can stop whenever you want. What I really like about doing hand polishing is you can kind of preserve the finish, and you can still have that polished feel with the same feel of that finish, or the texture of that finish that's kind of underneath it. So we've been polishing for about, say 20 seconds here, and you can already see that there's a big difference between the two sides. So it's really that quick, and I could stop there. I'm gonna go a little bit longer just because I want to see if I can get this a little bit more polished. And you can see, you know, as you start rubbing, the metal's going to come off and it's going to get darker. So make sure you use a rag that you don't really care about. I don't really care about these. I bought these specifically for this purpose, so that's what I use them for. So I'm just going to go a little bit longer here. And you'll notice that, you know, the towel, I put it down on the towel below because I don't want to get my mat all dirty or with polish on it. So just something to catch the residue that does come off below the spinner, because this one has holes. Alright, so I think that's probably as good as I'm going to get it for the length of this video. So I'm going to stop there, switch to the other side. So you can see that it's a pretty nice polish. You can still see the machine lines, you can still see a little bit of the blasting, and so that's what I really like about hand polishing. So we're just going to do the same thing to the other side. And if you notice that, you know, the polish isn't really removing as much as the patina, or the effect of you rubbing the polish on there is getting a little bit less noticeable over time, because the metal does build up on the cloth. You can, you know, switch to another spot on the rag. You don't want to use the same spot because it's already kind of soiled with metal. So you can reapply some more polish to another area, and then keep going. I'm gonna see how long I can go here. I think I can probably do this whole side with just this one dab of mothers. So you know, it does take a bit of energy. You know, I'm getting a little bit not exhausted, but tired. You know, I could start feeling it in my finger. I've kind of developed a bit of a resistance to it, because you're just rubbing with just the tip of your finger this whole time. So you just want to focus on the parts that still look like they're patinaed, or the areas that don't look quite as good as you want them to be. So we're getting pretty close here. I actually am going to switch to another spot and just dab a little bit. So just a little bit more. Rub it in a little bit. And then just keep going. And it does make a difference when you get a new spot on the rag and put some new polish. It does do the job a little bit better than, you know, as it gets soiled over time. So you do want to take that into consideration. Don't overexert yourself just, you know, with the same spot just because you want to save polish. This can I've probably polished about, I want to say 50 or more spinners with it, and it's done a pretty good job. I'm not even close to being halfway through the can. It was not filled up to the top when I got it. So this will probably last me, I want to say 2+ years. That's what I told Catherine. I believe that's probably true, and I do quite a bit of polishing, so I'm pretty happy with this as it is. So there might be a little bit more polish residue on there, so here's another cloth I have. I'm just going to wipe it just to make sure that all the polish is off of there, to, you know, give it a little bit more luster, because if the polish is on there, and you'll see, you know, the polish does rub off. If there is polish on there, it'll be less shiny, so you do want to remove that towards the end when you're finished. I am going to do the sides, but I just wanted to show kind of how far we've come. So this is how this half looks, and this is pretty close to how it looked before. So we spent about, I want to say, oh, the video is at 10 minutes. I don't think we've been polishing for 10 minutes. Maybe we have, I don't remember. But that's how much results you can get in that little a time, and it's by hand, so it takes a little bit longer. You could probably do it a little bit faster if you use a power tool like a Dremel or something with some compound on a buffing wheel. But that's too much setup for me. I just like to pull out my microfiber and get to work. So I'm good with that. I'm just going to go over it a little bit more. And I'm going to do the sides, because the sides do have patina on them as well. And the sides are kind of the most, the hardest part, and all the little intricate little tidbits on the spinner. So you do want to be mindful of those things, because you can miss spots. It doesn't matter to everybody. It's not really that big a deal to me, but I do like it to be just somewhat uniform. So it's pretty quick. It's not a big surface area like the flats, so it doesn't have to be perfect. You're not going to be able to see it as much. It is on the sides, and it is pretty small. So just going over that. Oh, you do want to, I usually close the can, and not really close it, just put the lid on it, just so it doesn't, I think it'll dry out over time, so just, you want to be mindful of that. I'm actually not sure, it is paste, it's a compound, so it probably doesn't, I don't know. Alright, that looks pretty good. I'm not going to try to get it perfect, but I do want to try to get it good enough, just for demonstration purposes. Right. All right. That's good enough. So let's just give it one more pass with the cleaning cloth, or the wiping cloth, I'll say. Should just wipe down those surfaces, wipe off any polished residue that's left. And that's 1/2. So that's 1/2 with the sides and everything done. We did that in about 10 minutes, I'll say. You don't need to worry about the underside, because you're not going to be able to see that, so you're just concerned with the body. Okay, so now we're gonna close the mothers for now. Set that to the side, and we're gonna go with the Cape Cod, and I have some dedicated gloves for that. I'll just set them to the side. This also has a dedicated cleaning cloth. We'll actually use that. And the actual cloths come in these little packets. And it comes 2 per packet. One, I've only really been using one for the last few months that I've had it. Put that back in there, put the cap on. And you can see it's pretty soiled. It's kind of starting to come apart a little bit. But it's still good. I think you can, I don't remember if you just wet it when it becomes dry, and then you just keep going. It has compound on it though, and this is what you use for rubbing it, so you don't need a dedicated cloth where it comes with the cloth. So that is a convenience factor, if that's your thing. So we're just going to do the same thing. It's just rubbing the surface. This one does have you do need to be a little bit more mindful of rubbing off the polish, because that's kind of the main step to removing a lot of the tarnish that's on it. But we'll see that. So just gonna kind of start rubbing this one, and this does have the added benefit of I feel like it penetrates a little bit more, just because it is a little bit more moist than the mothers, I'll say, if that makes sense. Maybe I'm talking out of my ass, I don't know. It does leave a lot more compound on the spinner though, so you can see like it looks wet, So we'll just keep going with that. Sorry about my neighbors, a little bit loud sometimes. It almost seems like this is faster actually. I've never actually done a comparison of the two. I do like Mother's a lot. I like it's not as messy. It like stays on the two cloths that you have, or however many you use. This one, it's a little bit, it is a little bit more wet, so you do definitely need gloves. The Mother's does, it will stay in your hands. The metal will get on your hands, just like it gets on the cloth. But I like the consistency of Mother's, and it kind of doesn't go where you don't want it. This, it's getting all over my gloves, and yeah, it's kind of messy. So that was pretty quick, at least as far as, I don't know if it's going to be as polished as the other one, but we got most of the patina off. So we're just gonna finish up the sides. So you kind of do this in 2 steps. You get it all, like Mother's, you can kind of spot polish, I'll say, if that makes sense. This one, you kind of want to do the whole piece that you want to do, and then wipe it off, because you don't want to do it and then wipe it off, because then you lose all of that polishing compound that's on the spinner. So I guess you do the same with Mother's, but a lot of it gets on the cloth itself with Mother's. This one, it kind of comes off on the spinner a lot more. Almost done here. And my fingers are getting a little bit tired, so I'm starting to go a little bit slower, starting to sweat a little bit more. So polishing definitely isn't, and it's not super easy. It does take time, but it's all worth it. It makes it a little bit more personal, dealing with the spinners and actually doing the finish yourself. So there is that nice touch. So we're just gonna wipe off the polish, and that is gonna, as you can see, that is gonna bring out that luster. It's not as polished as the Mother's, so I probably could have got a little bit longer with the Cape Cod. I'm just gonna stop there though, just for the sake of time. And I think you want to do like a wax on, wax off motion. I don't know if that matters really, but usually just wipe it off. But you are removing buffing compound, so whatever works, I guess. I tend to use my fingertip for the the detailing, because it is hard to get in there with the whole cloth. So you just make your finger just pointy, keep it there rigid, and then you just kind of rub around with your fingertip. All right, that looks pretty good. So I'm gonna stop there. So, and I'm gonna do the sides, and then we'll do a comparison of the two. And I didn't spend as much time as I did with this one, with the Cape Cod, as I did with Mother's. So, a little bit of a disadvantage. You're probably not gonna pick up the major, or the subtle differences rather, between the two on the camera, because it's the camera. But in person, I can definitely already tell the difference between the two. So that's pretty good. All right, so on the left we have the Mother's, on the right we have the Cape Cod, and you can see there's a little bit more reflection on the left one. It's a little less reflective on the right. the right being the Cape Cod and the left being the mothers. I don't really care for really shiny. They do look pretty similar in light though. I'm not sure if you can tell, but the right one is a little bit more grainy, like it still has a lot of that blasted finish on it. The left one, you can see the machine lines. The right one, you cannot. I don't know if that's coming through on the camera. But yeah, I'm gonna keep them like that just because it's kind of interesting, the contrast, and plus, you know, it'll make me think of this video. So so that's those. We're just gonna quickly do the buttons just so they match. I'm gonna switch back to hell, I'll just do the Cape Cod just to get the shimmer of the buttons, just since it's already out, so I don't have to get the mothers out. So what I usually do with the buttons, they're a little bit easier because they have this little nub right here, and it, once you press down on it, it just stays in place when you're rubbing it on a towel. So I just kind of rub around, you know, and this doesn't really get the sides, but it does a pretty good job of keeping it in place. So after you're done wiping it with the cloth, you're going to wipe off the polish a little bit on this, you know, whatever you have, and that's the result. So in a matter of I'm pretty sure seconds, we went from Cape Cod on the left with no patina, from on the right, you know, no treatment, and you know, you can do the edges of the button as well. We'll just do that real quick. All right. Do the same with this one. The one with the thread is a little bit more difficult. It tends to wobble a little bit more. So what I do is I kind of prop it up on its side, if that makes sense. So kind of like on its side. So if it's sitting on the towel like that, and then I just put my finger where it is right now, kind of propped up. So like that. I actually use this one, and then, or two rather, and then I just kind of rub, and if you can see my left finger, I kind of rotate the button as I'm doing the rubbing, and it gets the outside and inner parts of the button. You just keep going until you're done. Wipe it away. And there you have it. So we're ready to put the spinner back together. We'll do that, and then we'll get to the buttons real quick. So just gonna put the bearing in there, and you probably want to be careful. I should probably wipe my hands first. You don't want to get any polishing compound inside of the bearing because it can make it gritty. So you want to be careful, not really careless like me. So do we have our, yeah, we got, okay. So you're just gonna put those in the slots. And again, these are the same balls that you find. That's off screen. These are the same balls that you find in bearings. They're just a little bit bigger. So put those in there. Put that back on there. Grab the little screws. And you do have to make sure that this lines up right. So that's not lined up right. You see how there's a bigger hole on the left. That's where the screw goes into. You don't want both of those on the same side. For some reason, this one, this oyster, my clamshell is not the same. It does have these little bits right here, and they fit into these holes on either side of the spinner. But for some reason, both of the holes are on one side of or one half. So let's see. This side, so this side is the one with the bigger opening for the screw, so we're going to choose to do the opposite for that one. Get the screw on there. Come on. It's harder to do with gloves. Alright, so we're just going to Screw that in. You don't need to make it too tight. It doesn't need to be super crazy tight. Just gonna tighten it just enough. Then same thing for this one. Just enough. So there's the body. Put the buttons on there and you have yourself a nice polished spinner. Just make sure that their buttons are nice and snug, not too snug. And there you have it. Don't drop it like me. There you have it. It looks like a lot nicer with these white balls, the polished finish. So that is copper, and that didn't take very long. Probably could have been quicker if I wasn't talking and such, but we're making a video after all. All right, so on to the buttons. I'm actually just gonna do mothers on this one. I don't feel like experimenting with Cape Cod, so we're actually gonna put the Cape Cod cloth back. So I kind of just try to fold it in thirds, like it usually is, like it comes, and then put it into its slot. So back in there, put the nice cloth that it comes with back in there, and finally the gloves. I like to keep everything together, and so I'll set that to the side. All right, so back to the mothers. Got our cloth again. Find a new spot, nice clean spot. Get a little dab of the mothers on there. Rub it in a bit. And then just like with the copper ones, you're just gonna start rubbing. And stainless steel is pretty easy as well. It takes a little bit longer than copper. Copper is very much a softer metal. SS is a little bit harder, but it's still pretty easy. Titanium is a pain in the ass, depending on what polishing compound you're using. It does take a lot longer. I got a brushed TI Schism. I didn't really like the brushed finish on it. So I decided to try to polish it, and it took me probably about 3 or 4 hours to get it to the point where, and it was over a matter of days, but it took, you know, that much time to get it to where I really liked it, where I was really happy with the finish. So there is the stainless, and that's how it used to be. So a lot more shine. I'm probably going to keep going just because I want it a little shinier. And then we'll do the half with the laser engraving, and you'll see laser engraving, it is a little bit more rough. That's what kind of is a turn off for some people. It looks really nice, the designs that you're able to do with it, but it does leave behind a bit of a gritty finish, and some people don't like that. I'm kind of included in that camp. I don't really care for the feel of the finish that a laser engraving leaves behind. It's just not, it doesn't make my fingers happy. So I usually end up polishing whichever buttons have a laser engraving on them. But that's just my preference. So that's a little shinier. I think I'm happy with that. So we'll go on to the other half, and it's not that soiled, so we're just going to use the same one. So here is the before, and you can see, you can see a lot of the light refracting in it. It actually looks kind of nice. It leaves like a rainbow type shine, which is nice, but it doesn't feel nice. I'm not really looking at my spinners much, so it's actually pretty beautiful, actually. But we're getting rid of it, damn it. This is a polish video, so just like with the other, and you can hear the resistance of the engraving. The other one was a lot smoother. So you're kind of going until you can't hear that anymore, or you can hear it a lot less, because that's when it's not as gritty, it doesn't feel like sandpaper anymore. And that's where I'm gonna be going for. This one feels like it's a little bit of a deeper etch, so it might take a little bit, but we're gonna just hang in there. And again, just kind of a disclaimer, this is how I polish. I'm sure there's much better, much more efficient ways to do it, but this is just how I do it. This is, you know, it gives me a chance to really spend some time with my spinners and add that personal touch. I really like the idea that, you know, I do the finishing on some of my spinners. You know, I send some out for refinishing, but the ones that I do myself, I really take a lot of pride in it. It's nice. So we still hear that grittiness. I'm just gonna wipe a second. So it is pretty shiny, but it is a deeper etch. So we're just gonna keep going a little bit. Actually, it has like a nice almost outline, like it's kind of cool looking. We're gonna keep going. I'm actually gonna put a little bit more polish on there just so we work smarter, not harder. So just a little bit, rub it around again, and back at it. So I'm gonna focus on the laser engraving so that it does faster and not as much turning. So this laser engraving, I think, is a little bit different than the other ones that I've encountered. This one's a little bit deeper, so I don't think I'm going to be able to get it perfect to stop the sound. Usually, like with the Schematic engraving, it's very light engraving, so you can usually rub most of that away. You can still see the logo. It will go away with time because it is a lighter etch, or a lighter engraving. But it's a lot quicker to work with. So I think I'm pretty good with that. That's pretty damn shiny. You can't see as much of the refracting that you were seeing earlier. It's a lot smoother to the touch. I'm happy with that. So just gonna go ahead and finish up the sides, and we'll wrap up. So we're at about 33 minutes on the video now. I think I'm just going to upload it as is. I'll probably add my own little touch to it, but just because that's how I am. It's kind of annoying at times, to be honest, but it's just how I am, you know, that extra work for that polished feel to the video, just for my own type of thing. So this is kind of the underside of the buttons is what we were dealing with before, that nice rainbowy refraction of the light, and this is what we're dealing with now on the top side. You can see a little bit of the refraction on the left still, but it does have a lot smoother of a finish. So I'm really happy with these buttons, and of course with the laser engraving here, you can't feel that same grittiness. It's a lot smoother. It's not as unpleasant to the touch. So it still has that a little bit of grippiness. So that's nice for those of you that like that. And I'm definitely happy with that. So I'm going to stick with that. That's pretty much all I wanted to go over in this video. I just wanted to kind of do a quick. It was supposed to be quick. It ends up being a little bit longer. A little bit of a quick video. Be careful when you're don't get your side of your canister. So yeah, it looks like it does dry out. There's a little bit of dust there from the sides. So you know, keep your canister clean. Don't get it too dirty. So make sure you close it, because it will. You can see here, you know, the dust that came off the sides. Make sure both of those are closed. This one's getting about finished. I mean, this whole cloth is pretty much almost used up. So I'm probably gonna throw this in the, or wash it by hand actually, because it does have metal residue on it. You don't want to get that on your clothes. I don't know if it will stain. It may. I won't. I want to make sure that I don't get my girl angry with me by getting this on her clothes. So yeah, wash them by hand just to be safe. All right. I think that's about all I wanted to cover. Just to recap, we went through the clamshell, or the oyster rather, the smaller version of the clamshell, polishing the body of that as well as the buttons, and then the Spinet Pro buttons in about 30 minutes. And that's really all there is to it. I really recommend, this is my go-to, Mother's. It's Mother's mag and aluminum polish. You can find it on Amazon. You can find it at pretty much any hardware type store. I think it's used for auto parts usually. Not recommended for plating, anodized, painted, or coated metal surfaces. I use it for pretty much any metal. I haven't encountered a metal yet, except for I haven't tried tungsten, that it hasn't been able to improve. So any of the you know, more common regular metals, like, you know, copper, bronze, brass, stainless, TI, probably even Zirc. It's a little bit softer too. Any of those, you can really use that on it. The Cape Cod I tend to use only for patina metals, so copper, bronze, brass, things like that. And that's just because this is more of like a polish and a protectant that leaves. It's supposed to leave behind a protective layer for the metal to protect it against patina and such. But yeah, that's about it. Hopefully you found that useful. I'll probably post this on Spinner Talk, and until next time, I've been Nate, and it's been a pleasure. See you guys later.